In a strange turn of events, I've somehow managed to get glue all over my fingers and it's causing me problems. In case you're wondering, it's not a weird sex thing. Hello, my name's Steve, this is Everyman Fragrances. Thank you for clicking on the video. Now, if you've watched this channel for any sort of time, you'll know that I'm a self-entitled basic bitch. Now, where that came from is I was reviewing something a long time ago and I just made the point that I'm not looking to smell kind of challenging or particularly complicated or be divisive in my fragrances and how I smell. I just really want to smell good, to be honest. That's my aim, is to smell good. And because of that, quite often it involves, you know, your typical safe, mass appealing kind of fragrances that maybe blue or shower gelish, etc, etc. But it's a kind of a little bit more than that. So it's not just about my taste and preferences as such. It's also the nature of my work. Because I'm kind of in sales and it involves me visiting clients and meeting people, new people on a regular basis. Sometimes I might have to attend conferences, exhibitions and that sort of thing. Again, for that reason, I don't want, you know, new people approaching me, wanting to talk to me. I don't want them to kind of be put off by my smell or my fragrance. I want it to be inviting and welcoming. So again, the nature of that means that I'm typically going to be wearing kind of mass appealing type fragrances. I don't want to be divisive or kind of people think, well, he was right, but what the fuck was he wearing? He absolutely stank. So that's why, and for that reason, I've got quite a few sort of safe blue shower gelish type fragrances that do smell good. Now, the challenge in that, I mean, there's some examples here. So one of my current favorites is Bleu de Chanel, the Parfum version. I don't know if you can see that's not much left in that bottle. Similarly, I've got Bleu de Chanel, the Eau de Parfum version. Again, not much left in that bottle. Well, so Prada Luna Rossa Carbon, again, quite an empty bottle there. And of course, everybody's kind of work staple, and one of the sort of fragrances that I got quite early on in my collection is Prada L'Homme. I think you can just about see that depending on the light hits it. That's practically empty. So yeah, the challenge with having a preference for those sort of safer, mass appealing blue fragrances is you smell like every fucker, don't you? Every man and his dog is wearing Bleu de Chanel, particularly in a work or office environment. And although I do want to smell good, I do want to sort of be mass appealing, I don't want to smell like everyone. I do want to smell different. And there's a real challenge in that, because obviously where is different, and where's, you know, different is good to a point, then it can potentially get more divisive and challenging, and that's the kind of the path I sort of tread and sort of skirt around. So I put on a post recently in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of, asking people, you know, what's your favourite kind of blue fragrance, just to kind of get some ideas. And there's quite a lot of recommendations, and one of them sort of caught my eye and seemed to pass me by a couple of years ago when it was released. So I went and bought it, and you know what? This could be my brand new signature scent. The fragrance I'm talking about is this bad boy. It's Missoni's Parfum Pour Homme, which despite the name is actually an Eau de Parfum concentration. Now, when this first arrived, I was originally planning on doing a first impressions video and then linking that to a kind of a full review. So there was going to be one video filmed over a few days. So you're going to get my first impressions and my full review. But you know what, when it arrived, I was too keen to try it. I just wanted to smell it. So I just unwrapped it and smelled it. Before I get onto the smell, I've got to say I'm really impressed with the bottle. It's got a really solid weight to it. It's got a really nice chunky glass, which has actually got a sort of slightly coloured hue to it, which is kind of like a bluey, greeny purple. I don't know if you can kind of pick that up. Obviously through that sort of darker kind of amber kind of colour. So all those sort of colours come through, which is really nice. It gives it, again, a nice quality feel, and all the branding, etc. just looks really nice and quite classy without being chintzy. And then to top it off, it's only got a fucking magnetic lid, hasn't it? So yeah, I was really, really chuffed with the packaging. So when I first smelt this, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, even though I'd seen the comparisons to Bleu de Chanel, and I'd obviously looked up the notes. And in case you're wondering, at the top there's grapefruit, lemon and lavender. In the mids there's ginger, apple and jasmine, and it's got kind of a woody base with patchouli and musk and birch as well. So I was expecting something that was Bleu de Chanel like. Now I didn't know how close it was going to be. The sort of comparisons seem to vary. A lot of people say, oh, it's like the closest Bleu de Chanel cologne you could get. A lot of people say, no, they don't smell alike at all. So when I first smelt this, I can categorically say that I thought this did not smell like Bleu de Chanel. It's the same type of fragrance, but to me, absolutely did not smell like Bleu de Chanel, and I could tell the difference instantly. There's no way, certainly in the opening, that this is a clone of any sort. For me, in the opening, I got loads of lavender and loads of ginger, which not two notes that stand out to me in Bleu de Chanel. Now, if I'm honest, when I first smelled the opening, I was a bit surprised. I was a kind of mixed feelings. I thought, that's actually, I'm glad that it was different to Bleu de Chanel, because I didn't want just another Bleu de Chanel kind of clone. What's the point? But it was also quite, I like lavender, but they were the lavender and the ginger were quite prominent and quite up front, and they were sort of almost battling it out, and it was kind of a bit overwhelming in the opening. But give it sort of 10 or 15 minutes, they sort of just die down a bit and blend in, and you're just left with this super fresh, clean fragrance that can easily kind of compete with Bleu de Chanel, but still doesn't smell like it, in my opinion. So even though when I first smelled this, I didn't really appreciate the ginger lavender kind of burst that you get in the opening, as I say, that does dissipate and it blends in. But actually, now I've got to know the fragrance, I actually quite enjoy those elements of it, and that's kind of, for me, what makes it different to Bleu de Chanel. So I enjoyed the opening a lot more than I used to when I first kind of got the fragrance, to be honest. But I'd still say it's better once it dries down. So if you do smell this, before you judge it, give it at least 15-20 minutes, I would say, to kind of blend down. And then, as I said earlier, you're just left with this really lovely, clean, fresh fragrance. Now, it dries down, as I say, you still get the ginger is definitely there for me. The ginger and the lavender are still the kind of main notes that I kind of get. And they're sort of quite almost overpowering and very obvious in the opening. As it dries down, it settles down a little bit, it gets a little bit kind of cleaner, touch more powdery, but still kind of keeps this nice fresh element with the ginger. It's still there to give it a little bit of kind of zing with kind of the apple. And then as it dries down a little bit further, it just obviously becomes slightly a little bit more woody and just very, very kind of safe and masopene, and really, really a pleasant fragrance, I've got to say. Yeah, really enjoying this fragrance, I must admit, and yeah, I think you should go and smell it, to be honest. Now, although I've got quite a big collection, most of you know that I'm not someone that just keeps adding to it, because I do have this constant kind of battle in my head over the cost of fragrances versus the cost of living, and the fact that this is just a hobby and I do have a family and bills to pay and stuff. So just to keep this stupid collection that I hardly ever wear just doesn't, I can't justify it in my head for my own kind of well-being, to be honest, and my own mental health. So though I do still have a very large collection relative to the average Joe, it's certainly nowhere near as much as a lot of YouTubers and enthusiasts, etc. So I'm quite well known that I'll try something, and if I don't like it, if it's not like a 8 or 9 out of 10 or something, I will just flip it, because I think, what's the point? You know, why wear something that's good when I can wear something that's great? And then also, sometimes I'll go off fragrances. I wear them, I'll keep them for a few months, a year, and then I will sell them further down the line. Now, the question is, am I going to keep this one? Yes, I am, because I see no reason to not. I think this is a great alternative to Bleu de Chanel that's a little bit different, but also super, super versatile and very easy to wear. To tell you where it sort of fits in my collection, now, just to give you a gauge, I'd say this, and I'm talking about just the fragrance type, not the scent profile. I must emphasize, I'm not saying it necessarily smells like these, but where it kind of sits in the sort of occasion, when to wear type thing, I would say it sort of fits somewhere between Bleu de Chanel and Prada L'Homme, to be honest. So it's kind of got the sort of clean freshness of Bleu de Chanel, but it's also got that slightly kind of floral kind of powdery vibe that you sort of get from Prada L'Homme. Now, I emphasize, I'm not saying it smells something like you've taken those two fragrances and it smells like you've mixed them. Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying where it sits as a scent and when to wear it's in those sort of occasions. It's somewhere between that clean, fresh signature scent all day and that sort of powdery office kind of fragrance. It's somewhere there, which means it's super versatile. You could easily wear this in an office. You could wear this in high heat, because it's actually, even though the lavender's there, the sort of apple and the ginger just gives it a little bit of a zing and a bit of a fresh boost, but it's sort of easily clean enough to wear in an office. It's pleasant enough to wear like on a date or, you know, on a barbecue. It's super, super versatile. So I think it's a great great fragrance that I can't see any reason not to keep. And for the fact that it only cost me 25 quid, I'm really, really chuffed with it. Just to mention, the only caveat I would say to the fragrance, the fact that it's a great fragrance, super versatile and really quite affordable, is the performance. Now, the performance is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I was certainly not overwhelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed either. It was just quite average, a bit below average, I'd say. It smells and it's quite noticeable, sort of projection wise, for about an hour, and then it'll sort of lasts 5 to 6 hours on me. You can still smell it, but it sort of rains in and becomes very much a skin scent. There's a few days where I did kind of go quite heavy, and it did sort of push out, it did project for a little bit longer, more like an hour and a half, and again it sort of pushed the performance out quite a bit. But the lavender and ginger in that opening when I went really heavy was sort of quite much, so it's fine if you're going to be in the car for a bit before you get to work. You could probably go super heavy and get a bit more performance, but if you are kind of walking into a meeting, I wouldn't kind of go too ham on the trigger, because you could choke some people out in that opening. So yeah, performance is kind of quite average, maybe a little bit below, unless you go super heavy on the trigger, but for 25 quid you could, couldn't you, to be honest? So that's it. That was Missoni's Parfum Pour Homme, which is actually an eau de parfum. Do comment down below the video if you've tried this fragrance and what you thought to it. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? You know, I'll be keen to find out. And I think it's really good because, as I always say, it's all subjective and it's just an opinion, and mine is worthless. So I'd like to hear what yours is. Also comment down below, what is your favorite blue fragrance? I'll be keen to find out, because I'm always kind of looking to find a blue fragrance that's still super nice, super safe, but also a little bit different, which is always a challenge. So by all means, recommend something down below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you for a video soon. Take care. Much love.